Ope. Ope.
I feel like I'm sweating. Is it too hot in here?
I'm comfy. But you've been like moving shit and like hustling and doing the most. We need to get you an assistant.
I know. I need a producer working for free.
We can get you an intern.
No, I can pay him. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound really good.
Okay, just for old time's sake, this is what I have to say. Hey, Nicki.
Hey, Abby.
And welcome to the Ope Girls podcast.
It feels so good.
All right, I'm just like, okay, red light, red light. We got the lights on. We're here.
Cue stage left.
I swear every time I do set this up, and I think I say this, I don't know if I say it actually on the podcast or if I just say it to like all the guests, but I feel like I'm setting up for a porno.
I mean, how honored am I to be here at this porno session?
How are you feeling about being back?
I feel really good, honestly. I have been really looking forward to this episode, and I'm honored that you gave me a chance to come back.
Yes, of course. I'm
not
so excited.
Sure giving me a platform right now with the midst of everything going on in the world is the greatest idea, but...
Actually, I'm going to take a pause. I want to, for anyone that doesn't know, Nicki and I, we started the podcast together. Here, a little applause.
Yes.
Welcome back. When was the last time we recorded together?
I think it was fall of 2022, right before I got engaged. That's definitely for sure.
Oh my God, it feels like forever.
Yeah, I cannot believe that it was that long ago, because the whole time we were doing the podcast, we kept talking about how we were going to do a Jamaica episode.
Oh, right. Yeah, I feel like so much has changed. I'm doing video now. That's a new thing, right?
I love it. We always talked about it. So like, I'm living for this dream.
I know. And then I finally got these arms. I feel like these are working out perfectly. So that way we can just like do whatever we want with our hands.
Yes. And
hands free.
I just have to say to those people that probably they were like, I bet they broke up because they're not friends anymore. No, we've been friends this whole time, guys.
I never heard. No one ever asked that.
I don't think anyone asked me that, but we did do that like goodbye
Speculation.
episode. Yeah, people always
broke up. I think I did say like the Ope Girls broke up or break up.
Yeah, but
I think we're closer now than what we were then.
100%. And not to mention, I feel like when we started the podcast, our friendship was still like blossoming, and it kind of like grew through our passion. Mm-hmm. But honestly, your passion was way stronger than mine, and I am happy to admit that. And I've been a listener since then and supporter, and
love it.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah. But this was definitely meant to be. Definitely meant to be.
I know. I mean, like, I think I've said it on like different podcasts, like episodes, but I'm just, oh no. Did the battery die?
This would be classic.
Okay, I think the battery's dead. All right, and we're back. 1 minute in.
Yes, but what we were talking about is just like, I feel like our friendship, we've matured together, because I'm definitely not the girl that was sitting there and talking about, butt sex 2.5 years ago.
Even though we started out talking about this being like a porno.
Well, Abby and I,
talking about sex.
We both love the same type of humor. Yeah. We are very crude. We are very dark individuals.
I can be crass sometimes.
100%. I mean, we just had breakfast and watched Babygirl on a Sunday.
I know. I was like telling my sister, I think I want to have not a party, but like a watch party for Babygirl when it comes out. Because like I went to the movie theater to see it and I fell in love. I was like, oh my God, I need to watch this again. So I've been waiting for it to come out on Amazon Prime. And she's like, that's a little bit of a weird movie to watch with other people. And I'm like, oh, well, I already like invited Nicki for sure.
Yeah. Why? Seeing the movie, I was thinking to myself, like, why didn't I know about this sooner?
Yes.
It like, it's barking up my tree. That's for sure.
Literally.
It was so good. Oh my gosh. I can't get one. Nicole Kidman is just chef's kiss. She's a prime lady.
She's 57. We looked it up.
If she's got abs and that booty be popping.
I know. She's definitely had work done, but I don't hate it.
Yeah, I really, if I had the money to get work done, I would get work done. But the only thing I wouldn't do is like enhancing my cheeks, because like I don't want to look like everyone else. Everyone looks the same now.
I was actually just listening to a podcast about that. I'm trying to think. The girl was like, I went in to the plastic surgeon to get a nose job, and she's like, I came out with a boob job.
Oh my God.
But then she was talking about how she's glad she never got the nose job. Everyone just looks like Kim Kardashian.
I know. We love Nicki Glaser. Her appearance, it shocked me. It was like is that the same freaking person that like we went and saw? What was it? 5 years ago when we went to go see her?
She definitely has a lot of filler. Sorry, I feel like I'm not as loud as you.
I think that's just because I'm loud. That's okay, a lot better. That sounds a little bit better. Yeah.
Sorry, it was bothering me. So I was like, I can't focus on the conversation if I'm like trying to hear myself. Nicki Glaser. So that's so funny. When I asked Instagram for questions for you, and someone was asking about like what's your thoughts on Nicki Glaser, and I was like, first of all, I love this person because they know I'll do anything to talk about her.
But we went to, was it Detroit where we saw her at this beautiful theater?
Yeah, technically Royal Oak.
It was a blast. If you're dark and you're crude like we are, you do make jokes.
She
like
just
that.
like, to me, she just like says, I think what everyone's thinking, but maybe it's just like not everyone's thinking it. Maybe it's just me and you, or like people like us.
Right.
I don't know. I just love her. I just think the point of comedy is to say the thing. Whatever the thing is, say it, make fun of it. Like, everyone goes through trauma, and I think we should just talk about it.
I didn't think that, like, celebrities should use their platform for, like, their own agenda, whether that be, like, you know, a hair product they are promoting or, like, a political campaign that they're, promoting. But
like Blake Lively doing a movie about domestic violence and then promoting her hair care.
Put your florals and grab your girls.
Yeah, it's girls' night.
Yes, I know. That's just, that whole lore is so
But do you think it's okay for them to do that now? I feel like
I thought the whole entire press conference there was like nuts. But no, obviously, yeah, I do. I absolutely do, especially like when it comes to comedy, because laughing unites us, and we need to laugh. Like, no one is perfect. We need to laugh at our mistakes. And also too, when something so traumatic is like so bad that all we can do is laugh about it now, that's when we should probably learn.
I've been not struggling. I was kind of thinking, like, after the first episode, I was like, it was a lot of we didn't talk about politics at all.
No.
On the first episode with my sister. You were saying you're surprised that I'm having you on in the state of the world. But I don't know, like, I'm not afraid to talk about that stuff. Everyone knows, I think, my views on and takes on things. But sometimes I'm like, maybe I just want this to be like a fun way to avoid the world. Some of the time. I don't know. I'm like not shying away from it. So if you want to talk about shit, like, I'm fine with it. And I was like, should I be talking about it? Because I think not talking about it is also problematic. But I'm not talking about it in real life. It's just not on the podcast. I don't know.
My uncle is the only like Democrat liberal adult that I have in my life. And by adult, I mean like outside someone that I can, someone who's older than me and someone who can like guide me, because all I've ever known is conservative Christians. He said that, like, I can't pause living my life. If anything, we should be seizing happiness now, because if anything's going to unite us, it's going to be what makes us together.
Well, if we want to keep doing the tough fight, whatever that means, I don't think it's happening yet. I think it's coming, but that's just my take.
Absolutely.
But I think, like, we need to keep our wits about us. We need to keep our mental health strong. If we lose that piece of us, like, what's the fucking point? Yeah.
It's literally all we can talk about.
I have to limit my consumption.
I need to too. Like, I'm so glad I got off of Facebook.
I'm not.
I had a girl that I haven't talked to since I was a junior in high school. She messaged me just because I posted like a link to a bill in Indiana. You have to have a third party vouch for you to get a divorce if you have children. It's just a bill right now, so it hasn't gone into law. She messaged me. I just tried to put my thought process in, and she goes, yeah, I'm not reading any of that. The whole point of me being like, well, I'm shocked. It's just because we really can't stop talking about it, but at the same time, we can't let it consume our lives. But also, too, setting up boundaries, because there is something going on in the air. It's getting interesting, that's for sure.
I was talking with one of my friends. He's like, I don't normally talk about politics. And that's true. Like, I've known him for years, and we literally just started talking about politics. And he's like, something just feels different. And I was like, it just feels like it might turn scary. And he's like, 100%. And that's a white man.
Yeah.
So, like, I keep hoping that it will get better. So
fingers crossed.
But back to Babygirl. We'll probably give some spoilers away. If you haven't seen Babygirl and you intend to see Babygirl, maybe just fast forward 5 minutes.
It was a waterfall the entire movie.
I turned it on and it's like an orgasming sex scene. And I was like, prepare to get horny.
I feel like it is a psychological masterpiece, though. You see the roles between the woman in power and an intern man completely flip a script where, like, she's begging him, please don't leave me. Please, I need this. I need you.
Any person in power, I feel like subconsciously they just want to be told what to do because they've made so many decisions throughout the day. Just from the beginning, like, she's a CEO. It's opening up with her family and she's like making their lunches. So she's literally taking on the role of being mom and taking the role of being mom in the company. I think it comes back to trauma too, which I just love talking about, of course. I was like, I'm not going to talk about trauma anymore, but here I am. I think it showed shame so beautifully. When we feel such shame, we can't even show it to the people that love us the most.
Right.
And I think it was very beautiful for me to like witness something on screen, like in art form, of two people coming together while it was imperfect and they made a lot of mistakes for sure. But just to be fully themselves, show a piece of themselves that they've never shown anyone.
I also want to add Antonio Banderas talks to Samuel and he was like, is it because she's a woman in power, a CEO, she's controlling you and you just like to be controlled and by a powerful woman?
He said you're being abused.
And he goes, what an outdated view of sexuality. And I think that's why women are really liking this movie right now. And they talk about consent a lot in this movie. I think we all just want to be, you know, at some point in our lives taken care of and a little bit controlled in a very consensual and positive manner.
I think that's interesting. Do all women want that? Like, I know that that's kind of one of my fantasies.
The whole entire time I was watching this movie, I was like, this is so like, it really is. It's kind of relatable in a standpoint.
After the milk scene, you were like, oh my God, can that happen to me?
Honestly, it was really relatable. Like in the very first scene where she has sex with her husband and then she has to go into another room and like watch porn and like finish herself off. And I'm not saying that happens to me, but I'm saying it's still relatable. I think that everyone's been in that situation where they've had meaningful sex with someone that they love, but still feeling a little unsatisfied.
Or even not even meaningful, like where you just didn't get off. And it's a letdown because you entered the situation thinking you would. I think a lot of times, especially when a man and a woman are having sex together, it's predominantly like a man's world.
Exactly that.
And like their pleasure. And so I think when you enter sexual relations with someone with that type of dynamic, you come last.
That's exactly what I was going to mention.
I'm not saying that happens all the time with a man and a woman because I've had plenty of partners that put me first.
When you're talking about like a marriage where it's 19 years of the same old, right? When is sex over? When you're in like repetitive sex with a partner, it's typically when the man gets off. And that's just not how it's supposed to be, right?
And I was kind of talking about this a little bit on the last episode, which I don't know if I cut it out or not. So I'm just it bears to repeat. When your inner child feels comfortable to show yourself to someone, you can have those conversations and have it be a beautiful thing. Like being able to talk about like your desires and your wants and your needs. It doesn't have to be like, oh, the guy comes and then it stops there. It can if you're ready for it too. Cause like how many times you're like, oh, I want you to come. And that just means you're done. But like,
well, in Babygirl, after she had her interaction with Samuel, she tried to get Antonio Banderas to do some stuff to her with a pillow over her head.
He shamed her.
He was like, I feel like the villain at the time. Nicole Kidman didn't feel safe. You know, Samuel came into their life, and at the end of the movie, it ended up being a very good thing for them.
Such a beautiful story.
People can make mistakes. Two things can be true at the same time. You can love someone and also make a mistake. And it's about what happens after the mistake is made and how you go forward from there. And at the end, did end up being a monogamous marriage between her husband and her, and they're having a happy, satisfying marriage. It also made her a much better person. It made her the person she wanted to be.
Like once she could explore this part, like piece of her. I think Madison is just going to be like a person that I shout out every single episode. And I'm not going to get into too many details because it's like definitely very personal. I was talking to her about something that I was feeling shameful about, like in a sexual manner. And I was like, I've never admitted this to anyone. So I think it's beautiful that I could open up to at least someone and feel very safe. Basically, like what she was saying to me is like a lot of times, like where we feel shame, we also have like sexual desire desires. And a lot of times that's like where our shadow parts live. But it doesn't make them wrong. How beautiful if eventually when I have a partner for me to like explore those pieces of myself with them, because I've never really shared that with anyone.
And two, I also think just us being women, we're shamed for anything that we want that's sexual.
I don't even know if it's just about women in this. If we flip it on the other side of the coin, he was definitely getting something out of it too. He was gaining control. So if I had to guess, he probably felt a lack of control in his childhood. Probably has a big mother wound. We talked about, we mentioned this when we were watching
Absolutely.
After they had like their big moment, like the father figure song came on. I can be your father figure. I mean, first of all, he was so sexy in that. Oh, his dancing. I'm like, baby. But anyways, towards the end of that like major scene when they really dive deep into what they were doing together, they were laying in bed, kind of felt like a debrief of the whole interaction. And he like looked at her and he was like, do you think I'm a bad person? Because he was feeling shame about it. Even though like he wanted to be there. I'm sure he feels different things because she is married and she is the CEO and his boss and this and that and way older than him. And like, she's like, no, I think like you're a lovely, beautiful person. And he's like, can you hold me? And I thought that was beautiful too. Like I think all humans have these needs that are not being met or talked about. I saw this in the movie theater and everyone like bursted out laughing, which I just am like, people they feel nervous to like this stuff. I don't know. My opinion is they were getting horny from this and they laughed because it felt uncomfortable because it's not normal. That's my take. But anyways.
That movie was just like a psychological masterpiece in my mind.
And
I don't know if we just all have issues or not.
I think that, no, it's not issues. It's our shadow parts. It's a normal human aspect. We all have our fantasies. That's where some of them come from. It's sad that we just like play them out in our heads alone. If we're even able to admit them to our own selves, let's just start there.
Bingo.
And then to try to do that with someone else, I don't know.
Yeah, and it just kind of goes to show, like, at any point in your life, you can be, like, reborn. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think it's a beautiful story.
Yeah, you like a metamorphosis into someone completely new. I think I read somewhere that every 3 to 5 years, like every cell in our body has like died and we've been like recreated. So like if you think about it, every 3 to 5 years we're like a totally new person.
The overall message that I would like to give to the podcasters, that are listening, and the overall, I think, theme, like if you have those desires, just explore them
for sure.
See where it takes you.
I mean, I can't even imagine being married to Antonio Banderas of like all people.
I know his accent
and not getting off. Like, I was getting off just by looking at him. Like, what a fox that man is now.
I know, but if we're gonna pick between the two, I'm picking Samuel.
Oh, for sure. I mean, have you seen my husband? He's a white trash, dirty boy. I love him.
I was thinking about this while we were watching, but because you listened to the last episode, right, of the podcast, like me describing my type, I think Samuel falls into that. Also hilarious that Samuel is also the name of your husband.
I know. I can't wait to tell him about it, like when we get home, because I told him, I was like, he's like, what are you doing over at Abby's for so long? Like he knew I was
You don't want to know?
Well, I told him, I was like, we're gonna watch a dirty movie about sex, and I like gave him the synopsis of the movie, and he's like, why am I not surprised? But he's like, this is why I don't ask questions.
It's better that way.
Yeah. But for all the ladies out there that did listen to this and they're like, I'm not interested in that movie, I promise you are. It'll awaken something in you, even if it's like not, if you're prudish and you're like, I'm definitely not. Watch it with your husband.
Yeah.
Watch it with your boyfriend. You'll thank us later.
This is like one of those movies that falls into the category of kind of compare it to Saltburn in a sense of how it makes people feel, because it tells me a lot about a person. I never got the opportunity to watch Saltburn with anyone outside of my ex. It's just like one of those movies that like you can add it into the repertoire of like, okay, when we start watching movies with like when you're dating, you can kind of get to know a person to see how they react to things, or like just open up conversations that you may not have had prior.
I thought it was like super dark, and I don't know if it's just because like the side of TikTok I was on at the same time.
It's like a psychologically dark movie.
Yeah, but honestly, Babygirl was kind of psychologically dark as well, but not as dark. This was not a dark. I would say this was gray. It was a gray movie, not dark.
I would say similar vibes, but I think Saltburn's maybe a little bit worse. I think it just makes you think. Do we want to talk about Blake Lively and Justin?
I was literally just thinking
Baldoni?
that. There's this lawyer that I've been following, and he's been doing a really great job at breaking it down for us, because he read Blake Lively's initial complaint.
For anyone that doesn't know, I'll give a quick breakdown and then we can go back to that. For anyone that hasn't seen It Ends With Us, it's a movie starring Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, and Justin Baldoni stars in it and directs it and owns the rights to the movie.
He is the owner of the producing company as well, Wayfarer.
Okay, I recommend watching the movie, I guess. It's kind of heavy.
So I have to admit, I haven't watched it yet. I was going to watch it last night.
Did you read the book?
No, I want to watch the movie first.
So they made the movie after the book It Ends With Us. Just like at a high level, it just addresses the dynamics between two people and then with domestic violence at the center of the relationship. It kind of starts out with the love bombing and being perfect and hot and heavy with the relationship, and then how it slowly becomes manipulative and coercive, ultimately ending in violence. In the midst of all of this, there was like a weird promotion for the movie where like Blake Lively wasn't addressing the domestic violence at all, and she was just like promoting her hair care, and everyone was just like completely shitting on her. But then it came out later that Justin Baldoni hired, is it a PR firm, a PR company, to completely shit on Blake Lively during this whole promotion because everyone started hating her. All of these old interviews showing her being a total bitch to people were coming out, and like there was like this like complete hate crime against her. Like the smear campaign was horrible. And it just kind of overshadowed the whole concept of the movie and the importance and significance of it. And I'm not saying that her behavior during the promotion wasn't problematic, because I think it was. But now they're suing the fuck out of each other. She's suing him for
sexual harassment,
and then he's countersuing
for defamation.
3
really big things to remember that happened is, one, she was hired to be co-executor or co-producer or something like that. They sometimes give like the leading actor or actress this position. Another thing that is really big to know is the writer's strike went on in the middle of this movie, right? She got pregnant, had a baby, and then they were going to come back up.
Oh.
Yeah. So during the writer's strike, you know, she had her baby, but that's when things started changing. That's when she was like that infamous voice message we just got now.
What do you think about the voice memo?
It's creepy. It is.
So it's a 6.5 minute voice memo from Justin at like 1 or 2 in the morning to Blake Lively being like, "Hey Blake, I hope this doesn't wake you up." And he's like heavy breathing. It's like he just like got done masturbating or something. And he has a sexy voice. It is sexy. Do you think it's sexy?
Oh,
did you
absolutely.
Find it sexy?
This is his personality.
I mean, and he's hot. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
He's like, I wanted to give you my sincerest apologies.
Yeah.
And then he like just like the raspy like
Yeah. So
is that a good interpretation?
Yeah, I would undeniably.
But I thought it was creepy.
Undeniably, we know that there were unprofessional circumstances on both sides. So his voice memo was the response to the Khaleesi and the dragons, with her changing a whole entire scene. So after she had the baby, at one point, he asked Blake Lively's team how much she weighed. He has a previous back injury. That was in her complaint. But then he showed the proof of them having a full-blown conversation. And after like she addressed that, she was like, "We're going to be so fit, they're going to have to Lola us," which is like their editing. Her other complaint is that he kissed her neck and then told her she smelled so good. Well, they have that whole entire scene.
"Hey Blake, you smell so good."
Yeah, so Justin Baldoni just released the whole entire 10-minute scene, right? Where she talks about how she doesn't smell good. In the script, it says he's supposed to get close to her neck and then go in for a kiss. Her whole entire sexual harassment complaint has officially been debunked by his proof, right? She also claimed there was no intimacy coordinator. There was an intimacy coordinator present for absolutely every intimacy scene. They clearly have something else that they're holding on to. But the tea is, in her press conferences while they were on the red carpet, she had like an agreement. And the agreement...
That he couldn't be around.
He could not be part of the press tour, hence why he was interviewed completely separate. He had to be in the basement for the red carpet showing. She had the final cut.
What's your take?
I really, really hope I'm wrong. At first, I heard this and I was like, fuck Justin Baldoni. There's this creator I've been following for a really long time. She's speaking up about her experience with her ex-husband and the abuse. And when she spoke up, Justin Baldoni reached out to her. He made her feel so seen and made her feel so heroic almost, that like when this whole thing went down, she like made a video and she was crying. He's narcissistic. He's an asshole. Now all of this stuff has come out.
Narcissists are notorious for making people outside of their core group feel really fucking good. Mm-hmm. And it's because they're worried if a smear campaign happens, they have so many people in their corner saying they are amazing humans. So that doesn't surprise me if he is.
So at first, 100% Blake Lively's side. Well, then 2 weeks later, Justin Baldoni drops his complaint.
So today, where are you at, girl?
100% Ryan Reynolds was controlling Blake Lively, and there were some feelings that were caught on both sides or one side, and you're married to an aggressive old man who we've seen how he talks. Alanis Morissette and Scarlett Johansson.
Okay, so that's the piece that's missing. We've heard that that Ryan Reynolds is like super controlling.
Him and Justin Baldoni got into many tiffs about the way that Blake was dressed, about the way that he
was just jealous, which is so fucked. Doing her literal job. He's going to come in and babysit and tell her that she can't do this because he's insecure
and he's old. He's like 16
I sent you that
years
video,
older
right?
than her.
The age difference.
Yeah,
like this is all we need to know.
It really is. It really is. Now, do I think Ryan Reynolds is smexy? Absolutely, yes.
He's not my cup of tea.
I do like his humor, but I
don't even think he's that funny.
I think his humor is what's wrong with him.
I tried watching Deadpool on 3 separate occasions. All 3 of them, I didn't make it past the first 10 minutes. I fell asleep every time. I think, like we were saying earlier, 2 things can be true at once. Blake Lively can be a bitch. That doesn't make her a bad person. That doesn't make her a liar. That doesn't mean she didn't have...
Just makes her difficult to work with.
And that's on the casting. I also think that she can be telling the truth, or she could also be manipulated by her husband. I think both things could be true.
I think she could be controlled by Ryan, but at this point, you're dragging another person's livelihood down. Like, he lost his agency. He's lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, I hope that he wins. And
oh, you do?
Yeah, I hope that Justin Baldoni takes the Reynolds for all that they're worth.
I don't know. I believe the girl. So that's my stance. I believe that maybe like Ryan has fucked with her head a little. We'll see what comes out. Man.
I hate that that their trial's not until 2026.
I know, March of 20. I'm like, what the fuck?
I do not think that it's going to take that long, especially if Justin's lawyer is going to drop all the tea. Oh, this is like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard.
I know. I can't.
All over again.
I can't wait to watch the coverage, and I'm sure her outfits are going to be ballin'.
She is so pretty. Like, she could find literally any other Hollywood dude.
Yeah, but like when you're dating someone that's controlling, it's hard to
and
see
he's
it.
Extremely
it's hard
powerful.
To get out of it. He has a lot of pull. They have kids together. And not to make this about me, but like I feel like I've been struggling with like last time on the podcast. I was like, I don't want to really talk about my last relationship, but honestly, sometimes I'm like, it happened. Mm-hmm. And I think like the more we talk about things, the less it's stigmatized. You feel less alone. Other people feel less alone. I don't know. So I don't know. I feel for her.
One thing about celebrities is nothing is in real time. My point is, him and Blake Lively got together on the set of Green Lantern, which was like a total flop, right? And he was still married to Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Scarlett and Ryan break up. Rumors, and we don't know. We're never going to know what really happened. But it would also make sense as to what happened with Justin Baldoni and Ryan Reynolds, because I'm sure Ryan was thinking the same thing was going on to him, because that's what he's done before. And that's what she's done before.
I think it's an interesting concept of being accused of something in a relationship that you're not doing. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, does that mean you're doing that?
Back in the early 2000s when Alanis Morissette and him broke up. That was a terrible breakup, apparently. She wrote like a whole album about it. He was extremely controlling to her. Mm-hmm. And I think he like completely broke her heart.
I mean, let's just say both Justin and Ryan are both narcissists. There's a hard discard, like you're discarded. That's a like if you look up the stages of narcissism, that's the last one. Well, discard, and then sometimes there's hoovering. It's a term. That's when they then try to get you back to see if they still can assert the control over you. It doesn't always happen, or it could look different. But yeah, it's like they could be expressing so much love one day and then literally the next be like, I'm done with you.
Right.
And it's a hard discard. And you feel, it's a very complicated feeling to feel. This is from me speaking from personal experience. And I've done a lot of research on this. So I'm not just, it's my experience and I've researched it. So I didn't feel so alone. And I'm like, oh, a lot of people experience this. It feels very complicated because once you step away and are discarded, you then can see the picture and things slowly make more sense, and you can see clearly and you can breathe clearly, but you still have this complicated feeling of heartache because you loved them.
Yeah.
And you got addicted to the highs and the lows.
Yep.
And so it's so complicated. So you can be like, oh my God, this person treated me horribly and I fucking love them.
Right.
And so I can see how a whole breakup album can happen.
But the thing about Justin Baldoni is, though, like, he wrote a book, right? And I haven't read the book. But in his book, he talks about how he was addicted to porn and how
that makes sense too.
He was addicted to porn. He overcame it, and it was like a whole struggle.
How did he overcome it? Did he go to therapy?
Yes.
Okay,
he is a huge advocate for therapy, and that's why I think why he's into domestic abuse is because of like how he was raised, and what he firsthand has seen.
Oh, so it's called Man Enough?
Yeah. And it's why he's such a feminist, and that's why he's known in the industry as a feminist, and he was head of the Me Too movement. Like, this is a big deal, right? But the big problem is, and this is where my issue is with Blake Lively, and this is where I'm not going to forgive her.
I look at his eyes. Sorry, not to drop, but I look at his eyes for 1 second and I don't trust him.
That's how I feel about Blake Lively, though. 92% of women are not believed when they come forward for their sexual harassment. And here you have a woman of power.
But we don't know.
We know that she lied, though. We know that she lied about all of her sexual harassment complaints that were published in the New York Times were all lies.
My take, and maybe it's wrong, I think that when you have a person who is experiencing emotional abuse, and this is all speculation, and that's her and Ryan's dynamic, and then he starts to come into her craft and start to control her, start to control her job. I think maybe he's made some points to her and it's like, see, look at this. He's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing this. And then she starts to believe it.
Yeah.
Because of psychological abuse
and
emotional abuse. I get it. It's still not right. Even if, let's say it comes out that she made this shit up, I still don't think it's right, but I'm still taking her side. And that's my take, and I will die on it.
I think the only thing that's going to save her in the eye of the public is if she divorces Ryan.
I was going to say she has to divorce that guy.
And claim that it was postpartum depression and a mixture of a controlling dynamic. But I can't imagine, like, how they went about Justin Baldoni is so evil. So imagine being married. Like,
but he also did a smear campaign to her.
Right, but keep in mind, though,
like, that was evil too.
When he did his smear campaign, he had already known that he was going to be out of the press conference. She also stole his movie. We cannot forget the fact that they had 2 showings of the movie to the crew and the cast. I think they all voted on which film that should be published or whatever it's called. And they all voted for his. She hijacked his movie. Her smear campaign was totally worth it. She said, go grab your florals and your girls to a movie about domestic violence. And then she turned around and she's doing fake claims of sexual harassment when there are women in this industry who truly are sexually harassed and have been put in horrible situations to just try to make a name of themselves, and they're taking advantage of the power that they have.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll have to just find out. I think we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this for sure.
It's so addicting, though. It's so addicting.
Is, and then more information keeps coming out, and I feel like we're being lied to on some of the things. I don't know. It's crazy. But something doesn't feel right on both sides to me.
Oh yeah,
but
some
also
nefarious shit was going on.
He has dead eyes to me, and just look up dead eyes.
But could you? I literally disagree with him.
Google dead eyes and go down a rabbit hole on TikTok. I promise you.
But you've also seen him as an abuser in a movie. So like, and that was the last movie that you saw him in as, right?
I think that's the only movie I've seen him in.
So.
And that's a good point, but I just don't think you can fake your eyes because I've watched. Okay. Just as some background, my breakup happened, and then how long? I don't know. Was it a month or two after this movie came out? I went with it to see it with my sister in theaters. I cried the entire way home. Just as a disclaimer, domestic violence was not part of my relationship, my ex relationship. First of all, he reminded me a little bit of him, just looks wise. So I know why you're bringing the eyes up. So looks wise, yes, but just the way that the relationship dynamic played out, like with the love bombing and then the controlling, and then how he would get really jealous over things that she had no control over. That was so triggering. And it's just like you really think you start to go crazy because you're like, oh my, like you could be so excited for something and then do the wrong thing at the drop of a hat, even if you have no control over it, and then like you're in a fight for 3 days. And so yes, part of it could have been me just relating to it so closely, but I did try to objectively watch him in interviews outside of the movie, and I still think he has dead eyes. That's my take. I could still just be completely taking projecting the fuck out of it onto him. Totally plausible, but I still think he has dead eyes, and I just don't trust a man that says he's a good man. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a good man, you're not out here saying that. I know guys like that say, but I'm a good man, and I'm like, I haven't seen that from you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. This is just the information
the
that I have.
The patriarchy has failed us way too many times. So like your feelings are totally valid.
Yeah.
However, as someone who's been really thankful enough that I have not been like in an abusive relationship like that, but I'm living for the tea. I've become such a pop culture girly.
Yeah.
Like I'm so obsessed with like literally everything.
I feel like I couldn't like talk to anyone about this stuff because none of my friends were like interested in the tea or like what I was interested in. Like you're finally there. I'm like, yes. I have a question though.
Yeah.
Did you see his engagement video to his wife? Oh my God. I'm not going to give it away, but for everyone listening who cares about this, please look it up. Please. It's the cringiest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Do you know anything about Baha'i? Apparently they're part of this like religion. I don't even know if it's a religion
I look it up. I meant
or spirituality. So Baha'i is based in like, I think somewhere in Asia.
Right?
Yeah. It's if I had to guess, it's like very meditation and very like energy. Yeah, they're supposed to be very calming and very peaceful people. Can
I read this?
Yeah.
Baha'i believe in the oneness of humanity and devote themselves to the abolition of racial, class, and religious prejudices. Sorry for I hate reading out loud, and I don't have my glasses on. What does that even mean?
I think that just means that
their core beliefs: one God, the unity of all religions.
I feel like it's something that we all should live by.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it's a religion for social justice warriors. Well, as someone who's like currently going through like the deconstruction process of their faith, I really don't know what I believe in. I
deconstructing.
am certain that there was a God, but I just don't know.
I'm also deconstructing other, like, I've already feel like I've done that a long time ago, but I feel like I'm deconstructing everything right now. It's a beautiful process.
Yeah, it's liberating.
It's an unbecoming of oneself to become something new.
Yeah, and I feel like Taylor Swift has really gotten me through this like deconstruction of like my life and my faith. And like there's a song she has.
Which song?
So I Can Do It With a Broken Heart has been like getting me through it lately because like the world is in turmoil.
You and me both, sister.
Yeah, the world is in turmoil. Also,
because literally.
I feel like right now I'm in this weird situation with my family. I feel very brokenhearted and disappointed by my family at this time. What do you do when the people who are supposed to like love you the most in life, you just can't vibe with anymore? I don't even feel welcome in their home half the time. It's exhausting. When I hear that song, it just makes me remember I just need to focus on me.
Yeah.
I can do anything because like I've been brokenhearted before. This is nothing new. I'm just changing. I'm changing.
But I just want to say, don't invalidate that experience though.
No. I'm
just saying that because it feels really good to hear.
Yeah. Well, my family's never going to change. And that's what's different. That is what's different about my situation, is that I'm changing and I'm finding happiness that isn't superficial, right? I'm learning who I am, and I'm giving myself like the freedom, but it feels isolating at first.
Can I tell you what Madison tells me when I talk about this concept?
Yes, because Madison always helps us in these conversations. Bitch, if you're watching, I love you. And when I can't, we'll have a conversation soon, girl. The day is written in the walls. We are having a conversation soon, boo.
I recommend everyone, but not too many people, because I have my appointments on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern with her. That will hopefully be mine forever. Anyways, though, I talk to her a lot about this, and it comes up like in various different ways. Mm-hmm. I swear sometimes I ask the same question just differently every week, and then like we break it down from a holistic perspective. Getting to that core wound of what you're feeling is really important to actually feel. And that looks differently for every person, and it takes time, and you have to kind of figure out what it is you're feeling. And it can be multifaceted. It's not all one feeling. Like, I feel a lot of anger, but I also have a lot of grief that comes with it. So like that's at its core. But I talked to her a lot about this. We all wish that we could change people or make them be different humans, but that's controlling them. We can't control anyone else outside of ourselves. Letting go of that control gives us freedom, and it allows us to love them as they are. And so part of like what she has kind of like worked with me on is, if we want to have a relationship with them, which I'm assuming you probably still do, like, because you can choose not to. That's also totally okay. You don't have, just because they're your family, you don't have to talk to them if that's how you want to move forward. I want to have a relationship with my family. She just says sometimes in our head, we have to grieve the version of them that we wish we could, like the longing that we have, like that we crave, and why we have so much shame and guilt and this and that, like where we just want to be babied and loved and supported and seen and valued, validated. And we have to kind of grieve that to get to a place of, I guess, acceptance of who they are as people. And then on top of it, kind of, oh, that's just X, Y, and Z. That's just them. And it's like, she gave me the example of, let's just say like you have a cousin that's really like a huge fucking bitch or something. You wouldn't hang out with that cousin all day, even if it's Christmas or this or that. Like you put time limits on it because you're like, oh, that's just my bitch cousin. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's really, really sad. And I'm not there yet. It's not perfect. Yeah. But you have to just be like, oh, that's just them being them, to protect you, if that makes sense.
Yes. And for the listeners that don't know, I am moving to Minnesota in less than 3 months for lots of reasons. One, it's where my husband wants to be. And two, we're closer to his mom. But three, and this is honestly the main reason why we're leaving, is because I cannot go no contact with my family. And I mean, I know I can. You
don't want to.
Every therapist I've ever seen has like suggested it. And yeah. And I can't.
I think that's an overstep. No?
It's not like you need to go no contact with your parents. It's just like we go into these things where it's honestly the same cycle, where all I do is just like trauma dump about one particular person that I'm related to. And then I go in the next week and I'm like, this is what happened this time. I feel like a lot of what therapy is you're working through it yourself, and someone just guides you to the right thing, right? Yeah. I feel like I'm always constantly ending in I need space to be who I am. My whole entire life I was conditioned. Boundaries. Yeah, I was conditioned that I needed to be a certain way. Like I needed to be a mom. I needed to be a wife. I needed to be Catholic.
If you weren't those things, you weren't good.
Yeah, if I wasn't skinny, or I've never been skinny enough. I've never had a good enough boyfriend. It's always, oh, you should do this, or you should be like this person, or, you know, and now that I stopped even trying to be that person, they can't handle it. They hate it. They hate everything about it. And they go out of their way.
They probably feel out of control from their trauma.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Every time I walk into that home, it's a constant, well, I want you to be that way. Just even by the gifts that I got from them for my wedding. Like, I didn't have a Catholic wedding, and my parents for my wedding got me a giant picture of Jesus that I will be donating. So if anybody wants a giant picture of Jesus, you can have it.
I feel like that's something I would put up in my house as a joke.
And then another thing is like the religious relics. Like I am all about respecting their religion when I'm inside their home.
Yeah.
Do not force it on me. And
I think like everyone should respect everyone's beliefs.
If you have one child that's no contact because of the boundaries that they've set, if you have had all of your children try to push back on this one, on not just this one thing, but like on multiple things about how you want us to be, who you want us to be, and we're not, respect that. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. It's to the point where I realize that this is insanity, and I need out.
This is like a very relatable feeling, to be honest with you. I guess I would be curious to hear someone that maybe did follow the traditional path of like, because we live in the Midwest, so I don't know that necessarily all parents feel like they want that, like their kid to get married young and then have babies right away and like be like go to church and stuff. But in the Midwest, it seems like that's kind of the vibe across the board. Because even for me, I definitely feel like I'm like the black sheep pretty often because I kind of march to the beat of my own drum. I'm gonna do what I want to do. My family struggled with my religious beliefs. They still sometimes do, but like they just know not to talk to me about it anymore for the most part. They're like, we just get worried about you. Or I hear a lot like, we just want you to be happy, like when it comes to like me not being in a relationship. And I noticed that when I was dating like my last like boyfriend, I think I felt like they kind of like could breathe a little bit easier. But nothing in my life changed. Like I still kept my job and all of this. Like if anything, like my emotional state was just like quickly declining, which is kind of scary that they were like happier for me, even though it wasn't even like a healthy relationship. Afterwards, well, now we have no hope of you guys giving us grandkids. And both parties had said something similar. And it's just crazy to me because it's like, we just want you to be happy. I'm happier than I've ever been. And I am the furthest from marriage and kids I think I've ever been as I am right now.
Right.
It makes me sad sometimes, like when they kind of project their idea of what they wanted for me. Why not just like ask me what I want in life?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that what like anyone wants? To be heard, seen, and valued? Like,
right. I remember in one of our earlier episodes, we were talking about leveling up, right?
Yeah.
And I was totally bullshit. Like that, I was so wrong. When I got married, it was your programming. Something.
It was your programming. That's what you thought it was.
Yeah.
Sure.
So like my whole entire life, I was conditioned to think, okay, you're going to find a man and you're going to get married and you're going to have kids and you're going to be a mom.
And it will somehow bring happiness to your life.
Yeah. And that's who I am. Right. So then whenever I would be around a child, I'm really good with children. That just comes naturally with me.
Yeah, I would say same. I'm called the baby whisperer. I don't know if you know that about me.
Well, that was used against me my whole entire life because I love being around children. And so when I was in my 20s and single and babysitting or around my niece, the pressure of, I can't wait for you to find someone and for you to become a mom. Why is becoming a mom my greatest accomplishment? I think that I spent so much time of my life focusing on becoming a mom. It's why a lot of my shortcomings were because at the end of the day, my heart wasn't really in it because it wasn't part of what I thought my purpose was. This goes into everything, Abby. Like even just up until a couple years ago, I have never been living for what I want. I've always been living for what I thought that I wanted. And it makes me sad because
you were like conditioned to think that you wanted it, right?
Yes. Yeah. 100%. And so then when I got married, it was like a flip of the switch, right? I felt liberated because although I love my husband, his opinion no longer, like it's my number 2 priority. I'm number 1 now, bitch. Like
as it should. And I think as women, we are conditioned to put that like their thoughts and priorities first. At least that's how I felt in my last relationship. And I've felt that like in dating men in general. That's part of like what I'm trying to deconstruct right now.
Yeah, and it's really hard because my whole entire 20s, I was talking to like people that I know that have children now, being like, I want to have a baby before I'm 30, or like, I have to have a family before I'm 30. And like 30 is my cutoff for having babies. Well, when I was 30, I still wasn't married. I was engaged, but I still wasn't married. And I was thinking, I want to have a kid by the time I'm 33. Well, I got married and we were talking like, do we start having a family now? I'm not ready. When we went to Jamaica, a passion inside me flipped. My passions are now being awoken here in my 30 years old. And I'm not saying...
You're finally living for yourself?
Yeah, I'm finally finding out who I am. Who is Nicki? I'm no longer the girl who is just trying to get married and have kids. I'm no longer the girl who is just trying to lose 20 pounds to find someone to marry them. I'm no longer the girl who's doing everything to appease her parents. The only person I'm trying to appease is myself and my husband. I don't want kids right now. I don't want
either.
them.
I literally, it's so funny because it's like 2 weeks ago. I was just saying, I was like, I'm so ready. And like now I'm like,
I mean,
I've had like so many epiphanies. I feel like the last like 2 weeks. I want them maybe eventually. And that's like a hard, like, I don't know. Like there's so many things I want to accomplish because I feel like you and I, same, obviously, but different. But I feel like I'm finally living for myself. And I feel a weight is lifted off of me because I guess just for some insight, I know, you know, because we were just talking about this. And I was talking a little bit about it on the last podcast, but I don't think I actually articulated it because I don't think I had the words because I hadn't figured it out at this point. I think like with therapy, it's like every week I'm learning something new or learning a piece of myself or just like deconstructing, and I'm doing a lot of meditation and like I've learned a lot from that, not to sound too hippie or woo woo, but life changing. I feel like for my entire life, which is 32 and a half years, I did everything for male validation. Subconsciously, most of the time, some of it not, because sometimes I know.
Relatable.
Yes. I was thinking about this and I cried almost every single time I was thinking about it for a straight week because it was exhausting to even think about. So I can't even imagine subconsciously how tired I was. And it's not perfect. Like I still, like I find myself doing it sometimes still, but at least I'm acknowledged. Like I know it's happening and then I can talk about it later with Madison. And then kind of deconstruct why or what it means and get to that core reason, which is still like I'm in the happening. But I don't know. I feel like I just started going on a long tangent. I can't even remember where I was starting with this, but I feel like I'm finally living for myself, doing exactly what I want for my happiness. I have so much. I'm focusing on self-love. I'm obsessed with myself right now.
As you should be. You are a bad mama jamma. And like, honestly, Abby, you could take on the world. And there is not, like, I have yet
to... Well, I don't want to take on the world, but there are some things that I want to do.
I can't find someone that's good enough for you because like, you are just the best person in the whole entire world in my true viewpoint. Oh, and there's no one that I have truly ever met that I think deserves someone who you are the most giving. Like, you are a great friend. You are an empowering person. You're always trying to encourage people around you. And I'm seeing you take on this journey.
And I just have to say, so are you.
You're just so sweet. But I'm seeing you take this journey and it's so inspirational. And like Madison, girl, I cannot wait for your magic powers to work on me. But like,
I feel like you're already getting there somewhat though.
Yeah. Well,
like on your own. I've been in therapy for a year.
I don't know. It's just everything is changing now where the world is kind of upside down and I'm being liberated and it's so freeing and it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Us being women, the more selfish we are, the worse, like you're told you're least desirable.
Yeah.
No.
I could fucking care less. To be honest.
Yeah, there is literally nothing hotter than a man who like worships his woman, right? Or worships her. And god damn it, we deserve to be worshipped as women. No one else is like fucking worth that. And who's gonna worship you as much as you worship yourself?
So my thoughts on this are, and this is simply just from my own experience. I guess I haven't experienced the other side of it. When someone is really insecure and hasn't worked on themselves, we're gonna trigger the fuck out of them. They're going to hate us subconsciously or even outwardly. Something inside of them is going to hate themselves simply because they see something in us that they don't like. Yeah, like to some people, like we're not for them, but I think someone that's also equally done the work, it's our, like, so for women, we have our dad wound at our core. We can also have mom wounds, but our core, I think, is the biggest one with their dad. And that's just how psychology goes, the Freudian of it all.
Yep.
But then guys, they have to work on their mom wound. And I think it's like really, I don't know, like now that I'm learning about all of this and the science and the psychology behind it all, it's just so obvious to me now. I'm like, oh, that's your mom wound coming out.
Yeah.
I don't say that to people, but that's what I'm thinking in my head. And not that I'm going around psycho analyzing all people, but it's like, oh, like I triggered the fuck out of you in this. And that's why you're being a fucking asshole.
The 3 best days of my life, right? I have 3 of them that I can think of. Number 1 was walking down the aisle and seeing my husband. Like that definitely was number 1. Number 2 is Stephanie's wedding night. Just us dancing on the beach.
And then we went to a club.
Well, I didn't go to that, but
sorry for not remembering.
Well, no, it's okay. But like, it was just so beautiful.
We were roommates in Jamaica, just for anyone that doesn't know.
We were roommates. We had a great time. God, it was such a beautiful time. All I needed in life and in that moment was there. And it was the first time in my life.
You did feel very free, and like you were just like floating in the water, and you're like, I'm gonna go be a mermaid. And
yeah,
you were just swimming in the ocean. And I like, for me, like water is very important to me. Like I just feel like it just calms me, puts me at peace.
Yeah. Well, not only that is, I don't know if you remember, but I was getting hit on.
Oh yeah.
Left and right when we were in Jamaica, and I was not interested. And like I was with my best friends in the most beautiful place I've ever been at, experiencing amazing things. It was so freeing. It was so elevating. It was just, that was the second best day of my life.
And that's probably because we weren't in our hometown. You were engaged. You're off the market. You're going to be someone's forever person. There were no expectations of you. And that's, you probably were decentering men. You didn't even know it. And that's probably why it felt really freeing.
Yeah.
And when I'm on vacation, I feel that way for sure. Like it's just, there's just a level of like, you don't have to think about it, which I hope for us that like we can be anywhere. Like, let's say I could be here and have that feeling, but I don't know if it's the same effect.
Right. No, I know exactly what you mean. I just want to go back to like my 3rd best day of my life. And this was like actually this summer. It was at a friend of ours bachelorette party that I was hosting.
Oh,
and
I didn't know this.
It was after some party festivities. Me and Stephanie just went out onto the dock, and the stars were so beautiful.
Oh yeah, you described this on the way home.
Yeah, and Stephanie she had just moved away, and we were just holding hands, looking at the stars, the love and support for like the 3 of you. It's so defining. You don't know what you have until you lose it. And it's not that we lost each other. Things changed. Things are continuing to change. And I just knew that like no matter where I'm going to be, this love and this friendship is always going to be the stability that I have. Because you women are so inspiring. And if we just stopped focusing on finding a man and having babies, like focus on a career.
Even focusing on a career, I have been such career focused for all of my 20s, and now I'm literally wanting to focus on like my craft. And I want to make that, like I hope that I can make a living doing that. I have 2 different things kind of going on simultaneously.
Well, if there's anything that I know about you, Abby, is that you are a boss lady, and nothing is going to keep you from reaching your goal. And
thank you. I hope so.
I am here to support you, and I'm so excited to see where this journey ends. Weaponizing the word family is what I'm kind of going through right now. Family is here. Yeah. What are you going to do in the event of an emergency or someone gets sick or what have you?
That kind of is a fear of mine. I like to think of like what I went through this year, like with my surgery. I was abruptly dropped off here by him on the hardest day of the surgery, which was unpacking the wounds.
It was terrible.
One of the hardest moments, I think, of last year, I would say. And my sister came over. She is the one person in my life that I know I can count on. And so yeah, like if I move away and she doesn't move to the same city, I don't have her there. You know what I mean? But I do believe in community. Like you were just talking about our friendships. Some of my friends are my family, and I wholeheartedly view them that way. And I think you can build community anywhere. I think part of the deconstruction of your wants and needs and desires, if I hadn't been doing this, I think I wouldn't be able to make as many friends. Like I've made so many fucking friends this year.
You have.
And I know I can do that anywhere now. And it's because like I don't like need, I think like I was very codependent on a lot of people and a lot of friendships, to be honest, throughout my life. I don't need to like hold on to everyone so tightly. I can let energy flow. And truthfully, I haven't spent more time with just myself in a long time. I'm not drinking still. I still go out to the bars and have fun and do all of that. As an extrovert, I have to force myself sometimes to leave because I work from home. I think some people think my obsession with Timothee Chalamet is like stupid. Part of it is just like I'm using it to like have fun just with myself.
I want to add to your like Timothee Chalamet obsession. I am to this day still obsessed with Chaperone. I don't know if I want to fuck her or if I want to be her.
She's your icon. Like she is so free and she does whatever she wants. She says what she wants and she fucking means it.
She's inspirational.
She's not being a people pleaser, and
she's
I know,
problematic.
Like,
I love that.
So problematic, but like in the most beautiful and best way possible.
I have always been problematic. I'm like not with my friends, but like in the eyes of the people that we keep talking about, right? I'm always been the problematic one. I'm in my villain era right now is what I like to say it. What happened was I dyed my hair. I have like a split. My mom called me Cruella de Vil, and I'm like, I'm going to run with this. I'm in my villain era. Part of this metamorphosis of who I am. And honestly, Timothée Chalamet is part of yours because he's a total babe.
I didn't even realize how hot he was. And I think maybe part of it is because he looked like he was 12 for a really long time. So I think I felt a little bit icky, like even looking at him. Like,
it's hard. We just saw Bob Dylan together. He was so hot as Bob Dylan.
Yeah. And we watched SNL not together, but like we were texting about it.
Yeah. We did. That's what me and Abby do is like, even with the debates, I think we both watch them apart and we're texting each other.
Yeah. His second song, I swear, he had his chain. I was like,
what skit from last Saturday was your favorite?
To be honest, my favorite skit, I think it was it the podcast one?
There was the podcast one.
The Medcast. So he wasn't even in that one.
He wasn't in it? What? I thought he was one of the doctors, wasn't he?
Was he? Yes. Maybe just a glimpse.
He was just a supporting character.
Okay. Now I feel bad. Sorry, Timmy.
No, that's okay. My favorite was like the farting one where he had to like fart the lady back to life. That was
hilarious. Like that too. I was texting about it with one of my friends and we were talking about, I was like, I hate to say it, but I I think farts are funny, and I liked it.
In my home, farting is the funniest thing ever. It's like fart wars all the time. And like our joke right now is that the puppy likes it. So like we fart on Mocha all the time and we're like, it's okay. I'll be like, did you just
too real?
Did you just fart on the dog? And he'll be like, it's okay, she likes it. But I started it. Like, I'll just, and he'd be like, did you just do that on the dog? Yeah, but she liked it.
The things that like, farting with a dog is like the funniest thing. I call him toots. I don't even know why I'm saying fart. I say toots, and
that is very girly of you.
I was told that fart is a bad word, and for some reason I just don't like it. And it
is a dirty word,
but it's not. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I say it sometimes, but I like to say toot, and I think toot sounds funny, so that's why
toot toot
tootie. But anyways, the funniest thing like with Murphy is like sometimes he'll toot. It's like relaxing and calm. Murphy gets scared of everything, and so like loud noises freak her out, and so sometimes she'll be like like when I toot, like, and she doesn't like expect it, obviously. And then the worst part, oh my god, I get like embarrassed. I'll toot, and then if like we're standing over here, like if like let's say I'm about to let her out, she'll come up to my ass and be like and I'm like, stop it. I'm like, ew. I'm like, don't smell that. But she likes it, and I'm like, oh my god, please stop.
I think that the only time a toot isn't funny is when you're in an airplane. Like that's the only time where you're like, whoever did that, I'm gonna square up with you.
I keep seeing I think it's a sound on TikTok now.
I
can't.
Whoever's farting, please stop.
Yes. And I'm like, whoever was recording coincidentally. And I'm like, this is epic.
I've been on a plane where someone like ripped ass and you're like, get me out. Do I need to break this window? Well, like I'm taking the whole plane down.
Sometimes your tummy hurts.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I was on a plane on the way home, like, cause it's like after traveling, you're just not in your own, bathroom. Like I don't have a bidet when I'm traveling. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, and like you're eating like crap food.
Yeah. I hate going to the bathroom on planes. Like, I don't know what it is. It's so small. You have to like, it's like the walk of shame to the bathroom in the back. And like sometimes an unexpected guest comes to the party. Like you think you're going to go number one, but really a number two, like You weren't prepared for that.
I've never pooped on a plane.
I don't think I have either. I've only gone to the bathroom on a plane twice, and I've flown a lot. Like, I hold that in.
Girl.
I contain my water and like my coffee intake. Like, I've got this weird thing with public bathrooms.
In my mind, if I am not gonna pee, it makes me think about peeing, and then something in my body then makes me feel like I have to pee, and then I like can't stop thinking. It's like an OCD thing. I'm like, oh, now I gotta go. And then what's even worse is then when I go, it's a dribble.
I hate that. I really hate that.
I'm like, what was that for? But I felt like I was about to piss my pants.
I know we've talked about it before. You said you've never had a UTI.
Yeah.
Once you have a UTI and like stuff like that happens, you're instantly like, oh God, am I getting a UTI? It's literally like the worst thing that you can have as a woman.
I have heard that. There was one time I thought so, and then I think I asked you a couple questions, and then I was like, I don't think I have one.
No.
I think it was just getting old. I don't know. Now that we're talking about going pee, I was like, I feel like
for the men who are listening that have never experienced this, like when you have a UTI, it's like a pressure.
Can they get them?
They can, but they don't have the same. It's just like an STD. They don't have the same symptoms.
Of course.
So like they can't. Yeah, everything's easier for a man.
Yeah.
You constantly feel like you have to pee, and then not only do you constantly feel like you have to pee, there's this like cramp in like your bladder.
Is that because we have a uterus or something?
I don't know what the science is, but
I feel like I'm gonna Google that later.
But if you do not wipe properly, you are at risk. If you don't go pee after sex, you're at risk for a UTI. This is why
I think
you
that's
don't
why
wipe.
I've never had one, because I am like religious about it.
So you always wipe. If you're a guy listening and you didn't know this, you always want to wipe front to back. Urine bacteria isn't the same as like booty juice.
I have a confession.
Lay it on me.
I don't know if I've ever shared this on the podcast. One of my best friends, she's probably watching this. I didn't know that until I was like really old, and I was going to the bathroom with her and she's like, what are you doing? And she shamed me so hard, and I'm like, I'm sorry, my mom never taught me this.
I'm shocked you've never had a UTI then.
I think my body just built up the whatever it's called, science. I don't know. Can I ask you some random questions?
Yes, please.
Okay, so if you lost your memory, what's the first movie you would want to watch again for the first time?
The 2015 version of the live action version of Cinderella.
I love that you answered this way.
That is the only
You're
movie.
such a Disney girl.
That is the only movie that I can like watch religiously. It's my comfort movie. So like when I'm sad, I don't know what it is. It's like inspiring. It's beautiful. It's all the things. It's the fairy tale, like the classic fairy tale we've all been fed since we were kids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's just like such a happy ending. I feel like it's changed me as a person.
I've never seen it. I actually didn't think about my answer while I was writing that. So just live talking out loud, I think maybe a couple I'm just going to throw out there. Titanic is one of my favorites. Such a classic.
Love Titanic.
It's one of my favorite rewatches.
Jack, come back, Jack.
Yeah. Oh my God. And that scene with the hand.
I know.
And it just drips down. So hot. Gets me every time. Or the Bad Boys series. Like I know like it's just one, but like starting with Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, Bad Boys for Life. Oh my God, that was so good. Actually, I think they did release a new one. I haven't watched that.
I think so too.
Since Will Smith was kind of canceled. But also, speaking of Will Smith, my favorite of all time is iRobot. So I feel like I have to say that because when I had no friends and when I was experiencing mad trauma in 7th grade, it's what I watched every single weekend. Multiple times.
Will Smith is underratedly hot.
He's sexy.
He is so but like
so
no
hot.
one ever is like when people are like, who do you think the sexiest man alive is? No one's ever like Will Smith. But he deserves recognition. And Independence Day, panty dropper.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean like he wouldn't be like my number one for sure, but I think I've always had a crush on him, and I have a very complicated relationship with him now, especially after The Slap, because I love all of his movies that I've seen.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
He's a brilliant actor. I don't know. It's complicated. What book, movie, or TV fictional character is most like you?
Have you ever seen the movie on Netflix, Dumpling?
No.
Dumplin' is this little chubby girl, and her mom is a beauty queen, and her mom is constantly trying to get her to be more of her ideal daughter of what she wanted. That movie was so like true to my soul. I feel like I lived it, except like the mom actually came to like her senses at the end. There was like an evolution.
There's still time.
Yeah, there is. The whole thing is about the daughter who she's trying to figure herself out and go through life with her mom constantly wanting her to be, you know, a beauty queen and for her to do these things. If I ever become famous and they're going to remake a movie about me, Rebel Wilson 100% would be the person that I would want to play me. Yeah. However, she's significantly older than me, so I don't think that like that would work, but whoever played Dumplin would definitely do a good job at playing me.
I was just thinking about if I had a movie made about me, like who I would want to play me.
Who?
It has to be someone that's of age. You know, I don't know.
You know who I think you look like? Nina Dobry. She was like, yeah, maybe that's it. She was
Nina Dobrev, the Vampire Diaries.
Yes, that's exactly who it is.
I do not look like her, but that is like such a compliment.
Oh my gosh, that is who I 100% think you look like.
I remembered who I would pick, and not based on looks at all. I mean, a little bit. She has the darker hair and like the lighter skin tone, but I just like her vibes. But Dakota Johnson, I think that's who I would want.
Yes,
because she can be kind of like funny, but also serious at the same time.
Yeah, her character in 50 Shades of Grey, where she's just like kind of shy and timid.
I did not like that movie.
Yeah, that was mine and Sam. We watched it on our honeymoon. It was a good time.
I was going to say something not about your relationship, about mine, but I'm just going to leave that to myself.
I wanted to ask you, with the political climate, what would you say radicalized you?
That is a great question. So both of my parents politically align with my party. So I just have to say that. Again, I've always been the black sheep. I always think differently than fucking my whole family. So it's not uncommon for me to go against the grain. So I don't know. So I think I started questioning every single thing like that I believed in. I believe in this because my parents told me to. And I'm like, but I don't want that to, like, when people are like, why did you vote this way? Like, I don't want that to be the reason. Like, oh, I don't know. It's just the way I've always done it. So I don't know. I probably am always going through a form of deconstructing my beliefs. So that kind of happened. And I went, I think, a little bit too far in it, almost to the point of like anything I was consuming, which was very, very, very liberal media, I was just believing it at face value. And then I started seeing Fred Grody. Anyone who's an Ope Girl OG, he was a guy that I really liked. And he was the complete opposite end of the spectrum politically. He would just challenge everything. And I really liked debating at the time, and he really liked debating at the time. And I feel like we never had like a, hey, what's up conversation. It was always a very intentional conversation where like we were always trying to teach each other something. And part of it was probably like toxic, I would say. Like, no, you're wrong. And he thought I was wrong. And that ultimately was the downfall of why we never dated. Yeah. I don't know if we said this on the podcast or if it was off the podcast because we did a lot of talking before, but I do think every relationship or everything that's happened is for a purpose. And so I don't know. I think like, I wouldn't even say I'm like super radicalized. Maybe some people might think, but I think I definitely vote Democrat, but I don't think I'm like the extremist of what like, the liberal media of like what Republicans think liberal means. And I think part of that is because he did challenge me a little bit to have different thoughts and opinions of what I was thinking at that time. So yeah, I think that's beautiful. I like to always have my own opinions on things and not just be told this is why you should think this way. So that's where I landed.
So for me, I voted conservatively every election up until the last two. My whole entire life, I've been very political. Like, this has never been different. Like, I've always been in the know with like Fox News. There are posts that show up in my memories on Facebook that I just want to die because like
same, but not for politics.
When you find someone who you are inspired by, I've been really blessed to work with some really great people, but there was this doctor that I worked with and she was Catholic as well. She is the epitome of a saint. Like, she's the most giving, hardworking, the most charitable, and honestly, the most level-headed person I've ever met in my life. And it was right after the election of Trump and Hillary Clinton. And I remember we were sitting in the break room and we were talking, and I just assumed because she was Catholic that she was Republican. And I remember I said something to her, "It's such a great day, isn't it, today?" And she's like, "Honestly, Nicole, she's like, knowing that I know I can have a conversation with you about this and it'd be fine, I'm devastated." Mm-hmm. And I was like,
that was a really tough day.
And she was like, "Yeah, I'm extremely devastated." And she's like, "My goal here for what I'm doing with my company is I want to take care of as many people as I possibly can." And she's like, "I want everyone to have access to healthcare that they need." And that kind of stuck with me, right? Mm-hmm. She is the most giving, the most influential, the most inspiring, the most just like everything that is good in life, she represents. That gave me permission to kind of think differently, I guess. So like I started questioning then, and then fast forward to 2020 and I'm in the medical field, right? I get unemployed because of COVID. I go back to work, right? And I'm not affected by COVID. I'm totally fine. But our patients, like the patients that I had seen 6 months prior that were regulars, they're dying or they're coming in and they were hospitalized. And so I'm like seeing this, and then I'm hearing what my parents are saying about COVID, and they're contradicting each other. And then I'll never forget. This is like right before I left. You know, the overturn of Roe v. Wade still wasn't even a thing at this point. It was right before I left working in the medical field. I was talking to this doctor about abortion, and she said, "I would perform an abortion." The amount of women who are raped by their dad, by their brother, by their uncle, by it's statistically children are raped by someone in their family or someone that they trust. That to me is murdering innocent life. And she's like, but taking out a sack of cells, she's like, that's, to me, she's like, that's the most godly thing I can do, is giving a child their life again. She's like, everyone's circumstances is different. I'm not one to judge. She's like, I just don't think it's murder. And she's like, until I have hard-earned evidence that it's murder, she's like, I'm always going to side with humanity and what the most humane thing to do is. And she's like, you have to destigmatize that. And once I was able to take the word murder out of the definition of abortion, it changed everything. Well, my journey from misogyny to feminist began. And I still am battling with it internally, because even with us talking about Justin Baldoni, I have to check myself, like, is this the internalized misogyny that I grew up with? Like, talking to my family members, especially the men that I'm related to, they hate women. And it's so freaking obvious.
A lot of, and this is so generalized, but a lot of people haven't addressed their core wound. And so a lot of men hate women and a lot of women hate men. And I'm currently in that deconstruction.
And a lot of women hate women.
Core wound, because I don't want, well, that's misogyny. That's not their core wound. That's because they need to be validated by men.
Yes, it's the internalized misogyny.
Can we just do a couple more quick questions?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so I did get a couple of questions from the listeners on Instagram. Fuck, marry, kill, Harry Styles, Timothee Chalamet, or Tom Holland. This is a toughie.
I would kill Tom Holland. I would fuck Timothee Chalamet, and then I would marry Harry Styles, because he seems like he'd be husband material. And like, if I have to look at one every single day, I do want it to be Harry Styles.
Yeah, mine's opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
Tom Holland just doesn't do it for me.
I'm killing Tom. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not in my crush of Tom Holland era. I feel like that might be coming. It seems like everyone that I talk about with Timothee Chalamet, they bring up Tom Holland as well, 2 and 2.
I also just have to say, I know this is controversial, but between Tom Holland, Toby, whatever his name is, that played the first Spider-Man, and then Andrew Garfield, I don't know if you know who he is. So hot. After I saw him in Spider-Man, I like was memorized, and I thought he was like the love of my life. Turns out he doesn't know who I am, and we are not in love.
Well, that's okay. They don't need to know that. But I would fuck Harry and marry Timmy.
Fuck yeah.
That's where I stand.
At least you know, like, we're marrying opposite men.
Yeah, literally. I was gonna say, like, if you said Timothée Chalamet, my
so I'll fuck Timmy and then give him to you, and then you can fuck Harry and then give him to me, and then we're just good.
Then we're Eskimo sisters.
Yes. Coochie cousins.
Okay, and the only other question was, how do you feel about Nicki Glaser? We kind of like talked about that up top. I don't know that we really answered.
Yeah, I really like her. I think she's really funny. I would definitely go and see her again. I thought her hosting the Golden Globes was freaking hilarious.
Yeah, I'm seeing her on my birthday.
She did such a good job. I love that for you. Are you going with your sister?
Yeah, and Jay.
Love that. Love that. Are you guys going to Chicago?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's on my birthday.
That's perfect.
Yep.
That's perfect. You sent me that video of her having that kid in Michigan perform a Taylor Swift concert.
Yep. Oh my God, that was the cutest
You
thing.
need to like put that in the like description because everyone needs to see that video. It is... If you feel a certain type of way about Nicki, this will change your opinion because she was like this little kid's hype girl.
Yeah. So
I think she made his dreams come true, honestly.
I don't think he knows who she is.
That's okay.
So Nicki is obsessed with Taylor Swift. So her and I really relate on this. And like she went to 22 Eras Tour shows. So like when she wasn't touring, she was at the Eras Tour, and it's because she decided not to freeze her eggs, so she put that money towards concerts, and she's just making a lot of money as she should. But she found this like boy on TikTok who he's just so free, like he dresses up like Taylor and his family just lets him perform, and it's not like he's even that great of a singer. He's like this young little kid, just like you and I probably used to do. Like I used to do that with my neighbors, you know. And like so she literally, after a show on like a Friday or Saturday, she went to his Eras Tour show where he literally sang the whole Eras Tour, and then she kind of like was his like background singer and stuff.
And the fact that like one day he is gonna know who Nicki Glaser is.
It'll be special.
He's gonna he probably knows now that she was the host of the Golden Globes.
I think this fame that she's experiencing is well overdue. And I don't like, she has this saying on like that's part like because like the besties is what she like ironically calls the people that listen to her podcast, but she has this saying, it's called "K," and it's like something that she said like with her high school friends for forever, which it's like when someone tries to do something cool, like she goes "K."
Yeah, I've listened to her podcast a couple times.
Okay, so you know. But it's so funny because people keep coming to me and they're like, oh my God, like Nicki Glaser. They're like, I first heard about her from me, which I wanted so badly to go back to Nicki and to them and be like, oh my God, like, because like, you know, when like someone's like, I knew this artist before they were popular, like that's,
you really did though.
That's the vibe that I keep thinking, and I keep wanting to be like, I told you so. But then I think I'm like, that is so like, and then I wanted to like DM her and tell her this, but then I felt like that was because then I felt like I was just like bragging to her. I don't know.
Can I ask you?
She does respond to me.
She's like reposted you before and everything.
She's reposted me and she's read one of my DMs on the podcast.
I love that.
I love this.
I want to ask you, since we're kind of talking about it, if you ever saw a celebrity in person, how would you react?
I don't think well, to be honest. I actually won't, like, because she doesn't do it anymore since like she's blown up, but she was doing meet and greets, and not that I didn't want to pay for it because I think I would give her all my money, but like I was too nervous.
So do you think that like if you saw, like, let's say here's the scenario, you're at dinner and Nicki and her boyfriend walk by and they sit at a table, you're an eye's length, you can see them, what are you doing?
If she's eating, I'm probably not doing anything. I probably would just like wave to let her know that I'm a fellow bestie and then let her be.
Yeah.
And if like, let's say we were walking out, I probably would just, I fucking love you. And not make it, I probably wouldn't engage even too much. But I probably would even thank her. I don't know. Because she's such a big part of my life.
Yeah. I love that. I hope that if I'm ever in the situation to be in the vicinity of a celebrity, that I am not with my husband. And you know exactly what I mean. Like, Sam is just so fucking weird. I love that man with all my heart. He's just so embarrassing sometimes. And like, I told him, we've actually had this conversation.
He does speak his mind too.
Yeah, he does. And this man has literally, that there's no shame inside of him. He does not care. He has no cares.
Which is kind of beautiful.
No shame. I would love to.
What would you do if you saw Chaperone?
I would not, like, one, Chappell Roan has clearly said to her fans, don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do anything. I would obviously like look at them and I would probably stare at them and I would smile and I would be so excited, but I would never, it doesn't matter who the celebrity is. I don't think I would go up to them.
Yeah.
I would pray to God that I would get a chance to talk to them.
Yeah.
But I don't even think I would even talk to them about their work because like, I can't imagine like if all I ever talked about was what I do for work, I would be so bored.
I've heard that celebrities don't actually get a lot of compliments.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think like I've made it pretty obvious to Nicki in the DMs that I'm a fan. But she has said like she loves it.
Yeah.
And I don't think you go into that form of art
Yeah.
to not be recognized.
Oh yeah, and I can't imagine like
it. I don't know that they really fully know it until they're in it, of course, but yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to disturb her in any way, but I would want to be able to like let her know. Do you have anything else you want to say or ask or talk about?
Well, Abby, I just want to thank you for allowing me on your platform again. Like this for those of you that don't know, like I was not the best partner. Like Abby did 90% of the work when I was on the podcast, and I also too overshared, and I didn't have any support from my family. So like it was really hard to keep wanting to put myself out there like this for the scrutiny and the drama it caused. And Abby's had to deal with her own drama from this. So like I want to thank you for allowing me to come back as a guest. And I'm the fact that this podcast is so great and like what you've done with it, I'm so excited for where this goes. Like your passion, you can tell that your passion is in every single episode. So on behalf of your ex co-star and just a huge fan, so like thank you for continuing this on, and what this has become is so admirable. So, and I hope that everyone that listened to this episode can go back and listen to our old episodes if you haven't.
They are there.
And Abby has some really great guests after me. Like she has one of our he did a boudoir shoot for my bachelorette party. There's Phil. You've got
he's like another notable mention every single episode.
There's Lavendell. That episode was absolutely excellent. Obviously the one with Madison. I got to shout out our girl Brittany. And like
those are like my top episodes, I would say.
So like guys,
my favorites. I mean,
so just. I encourage anyone who just chimed in today to keep listening, and I'm so here for it. And I know that if you keep doing this and you keep putting the passion that you have in, the sky is your limit. So I just want you to know that I'm always, no matter where I am in this world, I'm always going to be probably your second or third biggest cheerleader, because I know I'm going to have to fight Stephanie and Jess.
I got to be honest, I think you're one of the top. I'm so happy that you came back on. I don't know, like just like coming back into it, like my first episode with Jess and then now with you, like obviously we're so used to doing this, so it just felt like, riding a bike, especially with so much time that I took off. But I always say, like, I don't think I would have started this, like the podcast, if you hadn't started it with me. So I'm forever indebted and grateful that you did that with me, and went on that journey, and we figured it out, and the technology, and like you were there through all of it. I don't have a ton of expectations, I think, for this. Like I do know I just want to really enjoy the whole process. Sorry, I know like we're trying to end, but also like I'm so glad that you came on, because like I know that like being like oversharing or being criticized, like it's hard. Like I think about it every single time I'm editing. I'm like, how is this going to be perceived? And like sometimes like at the end of the day, like I just like have to not care about other people's opinions. And like even like being viewed, the camera does add weight to yourself. Like it just does. It's a whole thing. Look it up. I was Googling it this morning to see how to avoid it, but it's unavoidable, it seems. At the end of the day, it's like, it's just about being heard and making art in whatever way you can. And that's my goal. I'm done with the corporate journey, and I'm just trying to create. Like that. I feel like that's where my life path is taking me.
And
so I'm glad you came back and put all of those other thoughts aside, and I think this was lovely.
Thank you so much, and I'm happy to be here, and I wish you the best of luck, and I just know I will always be a streamer.
An Ope girl.
Ope.
And sorry, I feel like I just like end these like so awkwardly. Like, thank you for listening. Love you guys.
Have a great week.
Oh.